Welcome back to the Mental Playbook Podcast. I'm your host, Malia Patel, and I am here with a very special guest, Gale, a special education teacher and CEO and founder of Me to We. Hi, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good, good. So, I want to know a little bit about your journey and some of the challenges you went through starting in high school.
Yeah, in high school, I was your typical student athlete. I played baseball and basketball in high school. I was someone on the outside, everything looked like it was going great, very positive, hardworking. But one of those kids that had those silent struggles. Through I would say it's my sophomore to senior year in high school, I dealt with severe anxiety, social anxiety, even performance on the baseball field as well. That which kind of led to that idea of like self-worth, knowing who I am and what I want to do. And a big person when it came to the negative what ifs in my life. So what if I get judged for this? What if this doesn't go right? That perspective I have now, I sure did not have back in high school and some of college. So definitely played a role in my academics, my social life, but also my athletics career as well.
Yeah, how specifically did anxiety impact your feelings, your body, and connections with other people?
Yeah, it's weird because it was something that I didn't think was anxiety. It was more so being told by other people and kind of really contemplating what it was. For me, it was actually showing up to school sick to my stomach every single day. So I would have stomach cramps, I would have a headache and everything. And it was more so the idea of I wanted to be at school, but
Mhm.
I was so caught up in my own head sometimes of being judged, the opinions of other people, trying to impress or prove myself to other people. On the baseball field, it kind of was like parted in two ways. I was the second baseman and the third baseman. My defense was always my go-to, so I was very confident in that. So that part of the anxiety that didn't really affect me there. But when it came to hitting, never my strong suit, and I was someone that allowed one at bat to affect another at bat. So sometimes with the sports piece of it, it was more of a domino effect that I allowed one incident to kind of continue on.
Yeah, and is there a lesson or experience from baseball that truly shapes who you are today?
Oh, see, that's tough. Baseball, I think sports in general has built a strong foundation in my life. And I'm very proud of that with having my dad as a coach for a while and having teammates that I've grown up with since I was 7 years old, being groomsmen and best friends till this day. I think one of the biggest things for baseball or sports in general is really connecting and tuning into your village. Baseball is a sport where like in the moment, it's an individual sport. You're the one who has to make a ground ball. You're the one at bat, but
Yeah.
then your individual performance plays an impact on your team. So the kind of same thing in the real world, what we do as an individual will impact the people around us. So one, I think just kind of tapping into your personal growth and allowing that to impact your community growth, but also just tapping in and really staying connected with your community.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know with your background in sports and
Mm-hmm.
just overall experience, what made you create Me to We and what inspired the name behind it?
All right. Yeah, this is a loaded question, which I love this, and it's a great explanation. So, Me to We, on paper right now, and I'm proud, it's currently an LLC, and it's a personal growth, community growth LLC. But what I tell people is Me to We, it's a brand, it's a message, it's a lifestyle. But what I've seen throughout the multiple years we've been doing this is that it's a community of driven individuals who want to make a positive impact in this world. It started as a small little Zoom meeting during COVID where my buddies and I we would work out, we would share positive messages. Then it turned into a social media page, and we just continue to build upon that. Of course, I kind of ran it on the forefront, but the people in my village and my community kind of helped me with that as well. And then back in 2024, we started our men's group as well. It kind of took a part of Me to We called We Talk. And that was simply a space where I wanted to bring people together that I know maybe have been dealing with something or have dealt with something, knowing myself as well, and have it. We call it a safe space, but I like the word brave space, meaning we can bring people together we can be real, but we can also keep each other accountable and not take it personally. And being part of that men's group, we actually had an awesome time. We were put on NBC News as well, just kind of highlight some things that we were doing. So with the men's group piece of it, now what we're doing with Me to We is also taking our men's group, like our workshop kind of format, and we want to bring it into our community, whether it be sports teams, businesses, or schools. So that's kind of our next steps for that. And I know you asked about experiences, kind of led to it. As I said before, I'm someone who dealt with anxiety, self doubt. So for me to be a forefront of this, wanting to speak, wanting to do podcasts, is not who I was whatsoever. I could not public speak if my life depended on it back in high school and college. But there's a quote by Inky Johnson, and if you have not heard of him or anybody, I highly recommend you look him up because he's someone that has truly helped me kind of shift my perspective in life. And the quote says, when an individual shifts their perspective from me to we, that's the moment an individual becomes literally dangerous because now that individual is attached to purpose and mission. And when I heard that, it connected with me. And so that piece of our title, Me to We, that's where it stemmed from, is what can we do as individuals, our gifts, our struggles, our stories, and how can we take that and turn it into a community impact, our village impact, our family impact. So that is kind of a little bit of that background and story of Me to We and how we got started. But the name and the message really did stem. I will always give Inky credit. He's been a guy I look up to. Is that idea and that perspective shift is what made me kind of start turning it into Me to We as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's so much growth there. And before we dive in more, I want to talk about the three pillars:
Yeah,
uncommon, serving others, and shining your light. Can you
yeah.
break those pillars down and kind of what they mean to you personally?
Yeah, so that first one is be uncommon. This idea came from someone named David Goggins. He's someone I look to on the athletic side of things, but also the mindset. We live in a world nowadays where people are very negative. And part of me, I think, uncommon is how do we flip that social norm? How do we flip that social script? So part of being uncommon is being positive. Not sometimes we won't be happy all the time, but
Yeah.
figuring out a way that we can find good from each situation. We also know that part of what we talk about is life is going to happen to us. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, life is going to happen to us. So that being uncommon, that mindset of how can you flip that situation and kind of regain your power and knowing that you control what you can control, and then taking that to serve yourself, but also serve others. So that's that first one, being uncommon. The second one is serve others. And this is a huge lesson I feel like I've learned as a kid growing up. My family, my parents have always instilled the idea of helping out that person next to you. Doesn't matter who you are or what they are, helping the person next to you, whatever it means. So I believe whether I'm a teacher, we have coaches, social workers, garbage workers, no matter what, we're all a part of the people's business. So we all have an opportunity to interact and connect with the people around us. And I think that right there is one of the greatest superpowers anybody can be given, is the ability to help that person next to you. So serving others plays a massive role in Me to We. It's legit taking what we do as individuals and helping the community. And that last one is shine your light. Shine your light is, I believe, kind of a staple saying for Me to We. We have our wristbands that say shine your light. And shine your light kind of cultivates being uncommon. It cultivates serving others. But at the end of the day, one of our kind of mottos or mission statements is taking our gifts, our struggles, and our stories and using that to serve and inspire the people around us. And that's what I believe shining your light is. Because when you shine your light, you're also helping people feel comfortable and confident to shine theirs. So those three pillars started off as little lessons throughout my life. And then I've taken it and I slapped it on the back of a Me to We shirt. And I go, you know what? That really does stand for what we want to do and what we're trying to do. So yeah, that's the three pillars that we kind of focus on during our men's meetings and even throughout some of our social media content as well. I try to really reinforce that.
Yeah. So I think there is often a stereotype with men and mental health. I want to know, why do you think mental health conversations are sometimes hard to have, especially for young men?
I think the number one thing is ego. We put our ego in front, thinking that people around us can't relate, thinking that the guys around us are going to judge us. But
Mhm.
I believe when you build a community, when you build a village that will stand by you through thick and thin, that's when you really see who you have in your corner. I'm somebody, even though I'm a special education teacher, I'm the CEO of Me to We. I'm someone who's still to this day, like, I'm not always comfortable sharing how I'm doing. And I think that's just the reality of men. And I hate saying that because it's stereotype in a way. But what really kind of sparked me, there's a song out there by, his name is Dax, and it's called To Be a Man. And he shares one of the lines in there of breaking generational curses. So I'm someone in my life, I've seen family members go through mental health. I've seen friends, I've seen brothers, siblings, and I wanted to create that space for either myself, like our youth. We have our ranges from 16 to 31, creating a space where guys can come in, feel seen, feel heard, feel loved in that moment, and then knowing that they can take whatever pain, whatever struggles they have, and kind of use that as purpose. Like I said before, ego definitely is the biggest role in everything. I believe for the men's mental health is kind of peeling back those layers and understanding that the person next to you, the guy you're talking to, is either going through something, has gone through something, or will go through something. And one of the biggest things that we talk about, which I love, it's kind of made our motto for our We Talk, our men's meetings, is it doesn't matter what your story is, because one day your story can turn into someone else's survival guide. And I think that is just so true and key to anybody in this world, where we may not all have the same story, but there's definitely bits and pieces that we can take and we can relate to as well.
Yeah. And not just for men, but everyone,
Yeah.
it's hard to be vulnerable and authentic. So how do you create those spaces, whether in classrooms, teams, or workshops, where being vulnerable feels safe?
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of start with the men's meeting, the workshop type still. Being a teacher, I came into starting these men's meetings where, like, I know if I go into a meeting with, say, my buddies, because that's kind of who joins us, I'm like, yeah, it will just be people talking. That's it. So I wanted a format to it. I wanted people to be prompted to kind of take a step back and reflect. So how we've done this so far, because some of the stuff that we talk is more personal and confidential for people, so we have agreements. We have a set of, like, I think 7 or 8 agreements that we go through to start every meeting. We share every meeting with a positive moment from the week. And then we hop into a self reflection, which is usually 1 to 2 activities, helping people peel back layers as well. And then having group discussions based upon those activities. And the one thing I really do stress is that I love for everyone to share, because sharing does create conversations. But at the same time, too, if someone is not ready to share, that's completely fine, because I'm more worried about you self reflecting and understanding what you're doing, then utilizing that to help others. And then we end our time together with a more fishbowl discussion where I'll throw 3 question prompts up there and the guys talk. I think the great thing about what we have going, and even like the same atmosphere I try to build into my classroom as a special education teacher, is that knowing that the person who's hosting everything is, one, vulnerable himself, is okay to share himself, and at the end of the day can always be that shoulder to lean on when you need them. And I make sure my students know that, and I make sure that anybody that walks through the door for our meetings know that as well. So, and I'll talk about this later as well, but like kind of setting that example as what I want to see and what we will see, both in my classroom and in the meetings, kind of sets that standard of, like, you know what, we can walk in, we may not feel comfortable right away, we may be struggling in this moment, and it's hard, but we know with the people that we have, the community that we have, things will be okay and we can be able to share.
Yeah. And so it can be hard. People struggle with confidence, whether it's in
Yeah.
talk sessions or just performing in general. So what advice do you have for those people, especially young ones, to battling,
Yeah.
self-worth and confidence?
So, and I think this is also me living by experience as well, because I struggle with the self worth, I struggle with anxiety, and there's certain things in my life that I didn't have in high school and even college that I really have prompted myself to have now. I think the biggest one for me is building in a routine, building in those non-negotiables in your life. And I know people can question, how does that relate to self-worth? But I think in my eyes, when you're stacking up evidence every day of what you're doing, it's also building that person that you are and that you want to be. So like the non-negotiables, I think, like for me personally, it's having a workout every morning. It's having my morning prayers, a daily devotional, taking cold showers. And now with being a dad recently, it's taking time to have that family time as well. Another piece of that for the self worth is controlling the controllable. I'm someone who struggled with that. We all kind of still do struggle with that as well. But knowing that our power as an individual doesn't come from the situation that we're going through, it comes from our response to it. And I think that's a huge part of kind of knowing your self worth. And the last one that I want to touch on was I was someone who thought I needed to impress everybody. I thought I needed to prove everybody who I was and what I'm trying to do. And I actually heard this quote recently, and it really, I wanted to add it into our podcast episode for today. And it said that the only two people in life that you should be impressing is your 10-year-old self and your 80-year-old self.
Yeah.
So looking back on the person that you have now become and looking back to see the impact and the growth that you've made in your own life and the people's lives around us. And I think hearing that, and that will be for sure a message that I send to my son as well, because that is very true. Like as our 10-year-old self, we're looking at like who we're going to be and what can we be proud of. And then we look back and what kind of impact did we leave on this earth? Did we leave this place better than we found it? And I think if you can really place importance on the positive things that you're doing in your life, your self-worth, your self-identity, it will start to come through that. And I think one of the coolest things that someone told me back, I was a senior in high school, and I was in the middle of starting the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA. I was leading that out. And one of the mentors told me and sent me a quote. It was like, place your hand on your heart, take a deep breath. That right there is called purpose. Knowing that you have the heartbeat, your breath, like right there is all you need in life to continue to keep going. And if you can really focus on who you are and what you want to become and those positive things that you're doing, it will really help you kind of identify your own self and also your self-worth.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations on being a dad. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and second of all, I love that you brought up that quote. I think my dad shared that quote with me like a few days ago. I was like, wow, it's a completely different perspective, especially now, like as a teen myself, we have this new age of technology and social
Yeah.
media where we're just constantly looking at other people's journeys and highlight
Mm-hmm.
reels and kind of comparing ourselves to other people. So
100%.
I think it's really good that you highlighted that we're just trying to be a better you, I guess, like trying to be better
Yeah.
than you were yesterday. So I think that's great that you focus on that. I'm curious to know, as a special education teacher, how does your classroom work influence the message you share through Me to We?
So it's tough sometimes because with being elementary, sometimes with the younger ages, they don't completely understand, but that's okay. So how I set up my classroom, I'm a big connections person, and I think that's what has kind of influenced me to we in general. So in my classroom, I set up a positive environment there. I want my students to feel seen and feel like they have a voice, and two, I want them to know that I care. So some of our me to we message I've taken, I've been able to implement into my classroom. I start with daily affirmations. So it's I'm amazing, I am brave, I am smart, I am strong, I am somebody. So I started off with those five, but now what we do because of that Alex Hormozy quote of talking about stacking the evidence, like we can talk about who we want to be and how we're doing, but when we start stacking the evidence of like what we're doing, so that's what I do now. I kind of tell my students, we do these affirmations, then we talk about what does it mean to be amazing? What does it look like to be smart? So how can we align those together? And then I also have an actual me to we board in my office. And this is an opportunity where I send a little note out to parents and families. And I want to highlight your story because I know our stories can also impact others. So kids have brought in pictures of their families of different cultures where they're from, and we post it on this board to kind of highlight the community and have the students kind of share their light as well as. So that's two pieces how I've tied in me to we into my classroom. Once again, year by year, it depends on the age group and kind of how much I can kind of dive into it. But those are two things that I've consistently been able to do to kind of highlight how I want to do me to we, but also how I run my classroom as well.
Yeah. And you brought up something that I think is crucial for people to understand, and that's about positive affirmations. And it's
Mm-hmm.
one thing to just say it and be like, I am amazing, but to
Yeah.
actually visualize it and, kind of see like, oh, what does it mean to be amazing? That's a
Yeah.
whole different level. And I think that can really just help others find their purpose and growth.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what we want to do with Me to We is my whole goal from taking Me to We and putting it into say classrooms or putting it into sports teams and businesses. Like growing up, I fell in love with inspirational speakers. Like that was my go-to, but I always knew like you can listen all you want, but
Mhm.
if you don't start to apply it, it does nothing for you.
Yeah.
So what I thought and what I've said is I want to be able to take a speaking engagement or a motivational speaking segment but also translate that into a workshop idea that we've talked about where we're incorporating self-reflection activities. So like, for example, we have a small engagement coming up in the next couple of weeks. And the goal is we're going to share our stories, but we're also going to dive deeper into your stories as well to build that culture within your business.
Yeah. And it can be hard to take first steps. So I'm curious to know what advice or tips you have for people who are kind of struggling with whether it's like self-doubt, self-worth, anxiety. What is their first step they can take, especially with Me.
I think the biggest thing which I've learned is simply investing time into yourself. I felt like I said before, like when you place the importance on other people, you kind of lose sight of what you truly need sometimes. And like that's where like Me to We, like I don't want to get confused. Like Me to We is about investing the time into yourself first and then using that to help others. We can't if we put other people first, sometimes we kind of lose sight of what we need to do. So I say invest time into yourself, your spirit, your mind, and your body, whether it be fitness, our podcasts like this, reading, anything that you can do to positively impact yourself, I think is a great first step. And then you're able to take that next step and then serving others as well.
Yeah. And I want to know, what role do schools play in shaping not just the academic success, but emotional intelligence and character? And I think that's something you're doing now with your students too. So I think, knowing at a young age these values that we can instill can ultimately help them in the long run.
Yeah, 100%. I think in school, like everyone focuses on academics. I think at the end of the day, too, as teachers, as advocates for these students, like our number one goal is to, at the end of the day, did we make this student a better person? And
Mhm.
I think that's where I try to come from because academics is that's one data point for a student. When they leave sixth grade, okay, awesome. You scored a 185 in your math testing. I'm so proud of you. But then how does that translate into the real world of what characteristics did you build? Did you build toughness through adversity? Did you do these different things? So for me, at the end of the day, I want to make and mold better people for this world as they leave our school.
Right. And what have your students or even the people you've worked with taught you about strength and resilience?
That it comes in different forms and sizes. That it could be the a 5-year-old student that has had a very hard time growing up, and you see that perspective taking. And I think that's my biggest thing is being in the field that I'm in with education and with students from different backgrounds, but also being part of Me to We with our men's meetings, seeing guys that come to us through different walks of life. It's that ability to have that different perspective and kind of take a step into their shoes as well. But also a big part of strength too that I've seen is also giving yourself grace. I feel like sometimes even myself, I get so stuck on myself and so hard on myself where, you know what, it's okay to take a step back and give myself grace because it doesn't mean I'm stopping. It means I'm taking a quick break and I'm going to continue to go from there. But I think the biggest one would be perspective. It's crazy to see where people come from, their backgrounds, their challenges, and like I said before, like their story will turn into someone else's survival guide. So being able to kind of take a step back and look at, okay, you know what, I'm going through this right now, and this is tough, but this person is also going through this. So that how can I help them? Can they help me? So I would say the number one thing that I've learned from the people around me about strength is perspective.
Yeah, and I like that. May I ask, what is the age range of like your men's group?
So it ranges from 16 to 31. So usually I open the invite to freshmen in high school and then honestly anybody older than that. And we have a right, it kind of depends on the weekend because everyone is busy, everyone has life going on. So sometimes we'll range from 5 guys to 20 guys. And that will still completely go from anybody in high school to college. And then we have guys in their 20s and 30s as well.
Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, I'm thinking about me as a freshman, like I get shy. I knew I was nervous going
Yeah.
in. How do you kind of build that connection between those different age ranges?
I think that the nice thing here, I have to say, is a lot of the guys have at least one mutual friend with them. So it kind of starts building that confidence right away. And I was never a very outgoing guy, and now I'm really trying to build myself to just kind of help the community that I'm in. And I think I really do try to make a very like warm and welcoming atmosphere that we have here. The guys will joke around, we'll goof around, but we're also doing different things where we may have more talks about vulnerability and sharing our stories, but we also have times with our meetings that we'll take a break from doing the meeting part of it, and we're gonna go do an exercise or a workout for the team. So it's kind of building in different things too that kind of meet people where they're at and their comfortability level as well.
Yeah. Is there a story or a moment from your Me to We journey that reminds you of why this mission matters?
That's another very loaded question, and it's tough. Um, I would say there's a lot of stories or moments that I can touch on, and I will touch on a couple. But I think just overall the growth that we see every meeting, I really stay tuned to our men's meetings because on social media I see that we're growing on social media. That's an awesome thing, but I can't see how people respond to that. But with
Yeah.
our men's meetings, like in person, I can see how people are growing and the things that they're doing. So I think that constant growth that we're seeing with Me to We through our men's meetings is something that I will always be proud of, and I'm proud of the guys that come in and share what they're doing as well. I think I'll share one story or one moment for our men's meetings, but also one way that I've tied it into my education job as well. For my school, I think one of the coolest things that one of my students just this past year wrote me a letter as he was leaving sixth grade to go into seventh grade. So our district, they go to a junior high then. And at the end of his letter, he wrote, "Keep shining your light as you always taught me." So for me, that was like a aha moment of like, you know what, someone caught on to what I was trying to do for them. And like I have these bracelets too that say "Shine Your Light." So I made sure I gave him one before he graduated our sixth grade. So for me, that meant the whole world of like, what I'm doing made a positive impact on at least one student. And for a 12-year old to say that and think that meant a lot to me. The next piece of it is a story from Me to We. So during our men's meetings, like I said before, we have guys that come from different walks of life. We
Mhm.
have carpenters, we have teachers, we have guys in business, just everything that you can think of, which is I'm very proud with that. And then we have one person as well that just on this past May 29th, he became 1 year sober of alcohol and drugs. And to now he's a full member of my small, tight knit Me to We team that's going to help kind of progress our workshops. So for someone to come into our meetings thinking about addiction, thinking about what they've been going through, and then knowing that they want to change and like love themselves again, and by constantly coming to these meetings, constantly being in tune with our content, and constantly growing as an individual, and now to turn 1 year sober and become a part of our team fully has meant the absolute world to me. And it's a proud moment to see that as an outsider looking in, but just knowing that the village and the community that we're building here really means a lot to that person.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to know what's your mental playbook that keeps you grounded when life can get overwhelming?
So I love this question and the idea of a mental playbook because being a sports guy, this is kind of where it falls. Um, so when I think of a mental playbook, I think about kind of like our toolkit that we have that we can go back to or rely on. So like I have my quotes, I have the positive content that I go to, I have the people that I go and listen to, but I kind of take this question and I kind of use my playbook as almost like a bank vault, meaning as I was younger, I relied on a lot of people to believe in me because I didn't believe in myself quite yet. So what I call it now is that it's a return on an investment. Everybody has invested all this positivity, all their love, all their kindness into me. So my thinking is how can I then show them how much that meant to me? So I'm someone who finds inspiration and motivation from the smallest of things, from my community, from my buddies, from my family. And I love this question too because what I'm about to say is how I want to wrap up all my workshops too as we go through them. But there's 6 people in my life that I believe highlight this return on an investment of the people. So the number one person is my wife. I say she's a real life superhero. She's a mom now, which is just beyond that because we've been together for almost 15 years, and she's also a NICU nurse. So she's working with the sickest of babies out there. I have my son now, who is someone who's me looking at me to be an example. I have one brother who's 19 years old, who's a college athlete that has his own struggles. He goes through the idea of being a student athlete, the balance and everything. And I just remember moments of him when he was 12 and 13 during COVID of waking up with me at 4 o'clock in the morning to work out because he knew it would set him apart from everybody else. And the person I kind of mentioned before in our meet a we is actually my second brother, who I look at him and the struggles he's gone through and to see that he's a year sober now is just beyond a miracle, but also just a proud brother moment as well. I have my mom who has taught me the way to unconditionally love and to really help the people around you. And then I look at my dad. My dad's someone I won't share a lot of his story, but a bulk of his story motivates me and inspires me, whether he believes it or not. At 8, my dad lost his dad to a heart attack. At 17, my dad was shot in the hip during a parking lot school shooting. At 20, he lost his twin brother in a car accident. And at 27, he was entered into rehab for drugs and alcohol. But what gets me and what always sticks with me, he shared a moment that during that time, the very first day they walked into rehab, one guy came out to these 15 men. And he said, only one of you is going to make it out of here successfully. And that one guy who did it was my dad. So when I look back of my mental playbook, I have no reason to stop like going in my life. Like I have all this motivation, all this inspiration. I've seen what people have gone through in my life. And so I use that every single day. I use that. Yeah, motivation will get you day by day, but your drive is what continues to push you. And I think my mental playbook with my family, the people that have invested into me, that is what truly pushes me to do what we're doing with Me to We as a community collective, but also as an individual, how I want to grow as myself as well.
Yeah, I love that answer. You brought up two things I want to touch on, um,
Yeah.
support system and loss. I think it can be, I mean, everyone deals with the loss differently, whether
Yeah.
it's the game or it's you lost someone. And I'm curious to know how you kind of help others cope with the loss and kind of understand that everyone has a different grief process.
Yeah. And I think that's tough too. And the one thing I will say is in our group, we haven't dealt much with it, but I will share a little bit of a story and kind of highlight it. Um, I was introduced to a high school student this past year who started coming to our groups every other week, which was amazing. And he opened up the very first day and shared that he had lost his dad when he was 10 years old. And it's more so the advice that he gave us that now we have been using to help other people is that yeah, I could have sat back, I could have let life hurt me, I could have let life just get to me, but what I wanted to do was live out a life that my dad would have been proud of. And so like thinking about that, and then when we talk to other guys, like, you know what, that person that you lost, it's extremely tragic. Take your time to grieve, take your time to really dwell, but think about those positive, those happy moments, and then how can you leave a legacy, how can you live this life out for that person. So that would be the biggest thing that I would think of is how can you represent that person in your everyday life.
Yeah. And why is having a support system crucial for you and for others in the community?
For me, I think it keeps me accountable. It's the people in my life that I know that have my back through thick and thin. I know that when I need some sunlight one day, if I'm feeling dark, that I know these people around me are there for me. But I think just in general, having a village, having a community that you can rely on, that you can go to when needed, and as we say in our men's group, kind of go to war with you. Like I know, like you don't have to have 15 to 20 different people in your life. You can have 3 to 5 people in your life that you know that have your back. Because I think one, it keeps you accountable. 2, it keeps you level headed. But 3, there's just this sense of belonging when you have the people in your life that truly love you and want the best for you. And I will say this too, there's a difference of having friends that will let you continue to do negative things, and there's friends that will continue to help you make positive choices, and the people that will help you keep you accountable and make you a better person are the people that you want to keep in your life.
Yeah. And for me, I'm gonna be going to college soon in the
Yeah.
fall. And I think a lot of times from high school is what I saw that people liked the quantity of friends over the quality. And so for me to realize that it's really those people who are trying to help me make the positive change rather than those bringing me down. So I think that's great that you touched on that.
Yeah.
What do you hope people remember or feel after a Me to We event or just hearing you speak?
So I said it before already, this idea of investing time in yourself. And I say that because in high school and even some of college, it wasn't something that I really focused on. But I believe like investing time in yourself is like the coolest thing that you can do for yourself. Because one, it really allows you to kind of know who you are, but it also kind of helps you then take what you learn and the blessings and the lessons that you've gone through to help other people as well. Um, and the other one, and I say it as our staple segment, is shine your light. And I mean it in the way of use your story, use your gifts, use your struggles, and take that to help the people around you. We won't know what people are going through until we take that time to connect with them. So having someone feel loved, feel seen, feel heard, a simple smile, a high five, a fist bump one day can change their entire perspective. And I think for me, growing up into the person now I'm proud of is I allowed my perspective to become my passport instead of my prison. So having that perspective of I can get through this, I will get through this, like this too shall pass, this idea. And this last piece, and I've more incorporated this into me to we now because becoming a dad is a different mindset sometimes of being the example. And I say be the example for your community, for your family, but most of all, be the example for yourself. What person or who do you want to be in your life? Like you can acquire all these things in your life, but if you're not the person that you want to be, like what do you have to show then? So yeah, I really think the time that you take to put into yourself really will help the people around you. I'm a big believer in that. I believe personal growth will lead to community growth, and that's truly our mission here. We want to nurture the spirit, the mind, and the body of our community because we've had people invest time into ourselves, so we want to invest that time into other people as well.
Yeah. I can already tell you're a great dad already.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So where can listeners find more about you and learn more about you and just Me to We?
Yeah, so I never give out my personal Instagram. Like I don't care too much about that. So for me to we, our personal Instagram is me to we underscore SMB because it's spirit, mind, body. That is our major social media platform that we have right now. And then we also have our website, which is me to we, no, me to we.org. And I can send you the information as well. But through our social media platform, you'll see that we post every day. We focus on fitness, on mindset, mental health, faith, and then we incorporate some of our men's meeting stuff into that as well. Invites, our story recaps, and then we also have, we call it a Saturday Spark, which is like a positive message for the week. And the new thing that since we became an LLC, we are starting to partner and collaborate with more people. So I'm kind of bringing people on a monthly basis to help create content together so we can share and create a better platform. And then our website will highlight kind of everything. It will highlight what we're trying to do, our mission, ways to get in contact with us, and then how we want to serve either schools, businesses, organizations. And we do like speaking engagements and a workshop, and it's really a two-in-one type thing. And then on that as well, you'll have our apparel, which is through our Etsy store. So yeah, that's probably the two biggest ways to kind of get in contact and everything.
Awesome. And yeah, I'll put those links below. And then are your meetings only, are they only physical or are they also virtual?
So as of right now, they're only physical. So we do biweekly meetings in person. We're blessed to kind of have a little small office warehouse space right now to be utilizing that. I've just found that there's just a stronger connection and there's a power with meeting in person with the guys, whether we're doing a workout or whether it be doing an actual meeting. So right now that is just an in-person meeting, but eventually we may branch out and do virtually along the way.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think in person is so much better. I think it promotes more authenticity as well. And then where are you guys located?
Elk Grove, so it's the Chicago suburbs.
Awesome. Okay. So my last question for you, and I feel
Yeah.
like you kind of already know the answer, but what matters most to you? The journey, the company, or the destination?
Oh man. Well, the company, I there's nothing that you can beat with the company. I feel like in my eyes, the company that you bring, I'm gonna have them not in front of me, not behind me. They're gonna be alongside me during that journey. Um, and I'm okay with maybe that journey may start off with me by myself. Maybe the people around me have to see the evidence. They have to see what we're doing. Um, but the company that I have in my life right now, there's nothing that can replace that. I will live and I will die by that. That's like the focus of me to be is that bringing the people that you've grown with and that have you built things with, bring them alongside you to continue to grow. But the journey is an amazing thing because it shows you who you are. It shows you what you want in life because there's a quote by Inky Johnson that talks about what's more important, what you acquire, who you become. So the destination, that's going to be an awesome thing one day. But what we're doing in the meantime is not only building ourselves, but it's building our foundations, our structures, our community. That's what I'm worried about. I want to see who I'm becoming in that process. That destination is going to get there. And Iki talks about, can you be committed to the process without being emotionally attached to the results? So if the result changes, that destination changes, can you still be committed to the work that you are doing? And I could proudly say yes. Like we are committed to making a positive impact in our lives, but also in the lives of people around us. So company, if I'm saying me personally, company would be my absolute number one. I live and I die with my people. I will go to war with them. And that journey, it comes along with it. The journey is an amazing thing that will show you who you are. So yeah, that would be my answer for that.
I love that answer. Well, thank you so much, Zach, for joining me on the Mental Playbook. To my listeners, mind strong, game on.
Thank you.